Hello, did you ever want to talk about the Scarlet Gospels without people telling you spoilers? Well, that's what this episode was all about. I know we already did an episode about the Scarlet Gospels in the past, but this one, we talked about whatever we felt like it, and we talked for a long time. So, episode 98, the Scarlet Gospels plus news and what we've been up to since the last episode.
Hey, this is Ryan. If you listen to the show, you might know that I'm a realtor in Fairbanks, Alaska. So we have this vast audience, but I only know of one of our listeners who lives in Fairbanks, Alaska. Hi, Ross. Did you know you can help me by letting me find you a realtor in your part of the country or world? I have access to networks of realtors, and many of them I know from past experience as a board president and state realtor board member. The best part is it won't cost you anything. After talking with you, I get a sense of what type of person would be a good fit for you. And when I match you together, I get paid a portion of the commission after you buy or sell a property. If you're looking to move or buying property and you'd like me to help you find a realtor that fits your needs, feel free to contact me through the site or call me directly at 907-978-2607. Thanks.
You want to talk about what we've been up to since last podcast?
Yeah, what's going on?
Who wants to start? Well, I've been working on an ad for. I want to try to start my own little business for dog sitting here in Asheville.
Oh, cool!
Because I need to make some money somehow. So I've been doing that. I'll put that on Craigslist here in the next few days. Also, I've been working on a story that I've had an idea for.
Short story?
I'd like to be about 100 pages or so.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
I'm going to work on it for a while. It's an idea I've been had. It's kind of draws themes from Frankenstein and the Incredible Hulk, and kind of like a post-up story set in like a post kind of Mad Max kind of world, but not those kind of, characters.
All right.
Yeah, everything's kind of pretty much dead.
Cool.
Yeah, and, made some shirts today. My brother made me some custom shirts today. I needed some more of those. Other than that, I've just been, I've also been doing some exercise outside. Got a soccer ball, been kicking around my yard. Still losing the weight there.
Oh, yeah. Ryan, have you been up to your CrossFit?
Yeah, that's been tough. I'm sore like every day now, but
that's good though.
Yeah,
it's a good sign. You get buff.
Yeah, I guess so.
You look like Hulk Hogan here soon.
Yeah.
Make sure you grow the handlebar mustache.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, I've been just playing Shining Force 3 still, and I've read a little bit of Everville.
Okay.
Just to get ready for our episode that's going to be at some point in the next couple of months.
How's work?
Long. Yeah.
Long.
Yep. It's been really busy lately and a lot of crazy stuff. Like the other day I was able to talk an appraiser into raising the value. So I thought I'm going to just go home and take a break. Because it was such it's like if the appraised value was low, and it was a short sale, so they would have had to convince. So we would have had to start the offer all over again with the seller's bank because they owed more money than the house, than they're selling it for. And we already, after 2 months, got the offer approved, and then the appraised value came in low. So like, you need to lower the price. It's like, well, that would be another 3 months of getting it approved by Wells Fargo. So I talked the appraiser into raising the value. I found some errors on the appraisal and stuff. And it's like, oh, that was a pretty big victory. I think I'm just going to go home, at 4 o'clock today. So that's
good.
That's what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I bought a U.S. copy of the Scarlet Gospels last weekend at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, I post that.
Yeah, I had read the Advanced Reader's Edition, and I got finally the hardcover, which looks amazing.
I did too. I got it. 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was very surprised to open up the dust jacket cover and see that there's a painting by Clive Barker inside on the other side of the page.
Yeah.
The dust jacket. So that was cool. What else did I do? I did some yard work, trying to get the yard like I want it to be, and did some gardening. Yeah, that's pretty hard work, I'll tell you. I mean, I've always lived in places where I didn't have to take care of a garden, so it's hard work sometimes to have to mow the lawn and, weed your lawn, pull out all those little weeds out, and it's like, oh God. Of course, it's Arizona, so it's always hot here.
Yeah.
So it's quite a challenge, but that's been keeping me fit.
I listen to podcasts while I do that stuff.
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
Good idea.
So what else did I do? Oh yeah, big thing was yesterday. Fallout 4 trailer came out, and I pretty much got up at 6:30 in the morning so I could watch the announcement that was going to unveil at 7 in the morning. So that was cool. I really enjoyed seeing the trailer for Fallout 4. It looks like it's going to be a great game. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
I tried out the first one. I guess Fallout 3. I tried it out, but it just is. There's like, I don't know, when those open world games are overwhelming for me, and I played for about an hour and then I sold it again.
Oh, okay. I actually was playing a little bit of Fallout 1 and 2 yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I got so stoked about Fallout 4. I was like, oh.
Are they on? Did you find them on Steam? Is that where they are?
No, I think I got these some time ago. When I say some time ago, I mean years ago. From GOG.com.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just opening up a save yesterday, and I was like playing a little bit. But I never really finished those games, to be honest, because it's a turn-based RPG game, so I'm not very good with turn-based combat. I think that's a little annoying to me. But I did my best to slog through a lot of those levels. So, yeah, and I was just feeling nostalgic yesterday, so I just booted it up and played a little bit. Killed some giant ants and some scorpions and went through the Temple of Trials again on Fallout 2.
I used to watch my friends play those because they didn't have it for Amiga, so...
Yeah, and so that's what I've been up to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about this episode. So
before we get into the episode, I got to ask you, Jose, what is this? You put for your what you've been up to? You put walled up a neighbor in the living room. What is that?
Yeah, I was going to say that, but then I kind of didn't know if I should say that or not. No, it's just a joke because we had a leak inside a wall, and we had the contractors come in and fix that. So they had to cut through the drywall. They had to expose the pipes inside the wall. They had to fix it. And then they made such a big hole that you could actually, walk into it. And when they closed it up, I posted a picture on my Facebook, and I said, I made a reference to, an Edgar Allan Poe story, I have a cask of Amontillado to show you, and apparently some people thought that was clever, so I put that in my notes.
I think I which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
but I was just wondering.
Oh yeah, no, totally. There's no neighbor inside the wall. I did pay attention to account for all the cats before the drywall guy closed it up because sometimes cats are curious. They'll just go into a hole, and this hole was cut really close to the floor. So I had to pick up my cat from that hole a couple of times, because she just likes to go and peek inside the wall. So you wouldn't want the guy from the drywall to finish his work, and then all of a sudden you start hearing like a cat meowing from inside the wall. That would not have been pleasant. So yeah, let's get into the news here.
All right. Yeah, so first thing, Clive Barker Drawings on eBay. So I think... probably we can thank Thomas Nigovin for that.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they're, Century Guild. So did you take a look at which drawings they were?
Well, I did.
The drawings are attached in that picture of the...
Yeah. Plus, they're selling they're selling a copy of Imaginer.
Yeah, they're selling a copy of Imaginer, a exhibition poster. They're selling also the limited edition 1977 exhibition art catalog, extremely rare. I'm looking at their eBay page right now.
Me
so
too.
there's a few Clive Barker Inc. drawings. Some of them are concepts for Abarat. Some of them you can tell that they're later drawings from probably when he came out of his coma, I would say, because some of them are in the typical Clive Barker style, while others are a little more distorted in a way.
You mean like these last two?
Right, like the Demon Ink drawing, for example, that's for sale here. You can tell it's probably a later stage, which Thomas Negovan went into this a little bit, that after his coma, his style kind of changed a little bit, and it was kind of surprising for him that it became like it's a different thing, like a different style. So yeah, they range from like $80 to like $100, $150. I'm sure there were more that have been sold. So if you wanted to get an original Clive Barker, I guess this is your chance.
David Anderson had posted up on the boards one time. I can't remember which one, but he said he was sent because he got one of these drawings, I guess, from a previous bid. And he said that Clive, his footprint was left on one of the drawings, and one of the guys was like, sorry, he just accidentally stepped on it. But David was like, man, that makes it even better if you ask me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, sometimes artists' studios are a little messy. I mean, I remember Francis Bacon. He used to do all those like crazy inside-out, paintings. He had a very messy studio, and when he died, they actually preserved. They went through the layers of his studio floor in almost like in an archaeological kind of thing, where they took notes about every single place that every scrap of paper was, and then they brought it into a museum and they reproduced the room exactly as it was in the house where the studio was. So I was lucky enough to see a retrospective on Francis Bacon once, and they had lots of stuff from the floor of his studio and old paintings and old preliminary sketches that he would do for paintings. And some of them have like coffee stains, paint stains, they've been stepped on, walked on. So yeah, it's not uncommon sometimes to find that kind of stuff.
I'd be cool with like a nice coffee stain from Clive.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I wouldn't mind it. Or like, he can't smoke cigars anymore, can he?
No,
yeah.
And there's a new DVD of Salomé and the Forbidden. So for people that have the old DVD, this will probably be a welcome change because you got to sit through a half an hour of previews on the
Redemption video.
Yeah,
with vampires and that's funny. That's a funny intro. There's a new DVD of that, but also Jojo Baby, right?
Yeah, and what's interesting is the Salomé and the Forbidden is being produced by Seraphim directly, as far as we know. I didn't see any mention of another company like Shout Factory or anybody doing it.
No, yeah.
This is
Seraphim.
So it might be a limited run, I would imagine, sold directly from their store.
I watched the trailer. It's looked very interesting. Have you ever heard of this artist? I've never heard of him, to be honest.
When they first announced that this was a movie being done, I think I read up a little bit on it, but that's the first I'd heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember Jojo Baby being mentioned in Revelations before.
Yeah.
But it seems to me like this was a project that got started, then kind of stalled, then Mark Miller went in and finished it.
Oh, I see. So it's been hanging around for a few years, and they finally just got it done.
Yeah, I think they got it finished a few years ago, but finally they're releasing it on DVD. That's Jojo Baby and another edition of Salomé and the Forbidden. These are movies that were done back in the early 70s, I think, right, Ryan? Or 60s?
Early 70s, yeah.
Yeah, in Liverpool. And some of these were, they never really got a finished form until, I think, shortly before Redemption Video put them out. That's when Clive Barker finally decided to complete the movies, or at least edit them together in something that had a beginning and an end, because it was just a bunch of reels, and they kind of cut it together. Very interesting stuff. I once talked to Doug Bradley about these. in his forum on his website, and I think he mentioned to me in detail how they would. What was the florist shop? They did this, and how they had to remove all the pots of flowers from one of the rooms to be able to shoot in there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that was the same flower shop where they did the stop motion videos and stuff.
Oh, stop motion videos?
Yeah, didn't they? I remember reading in the Memory, Prophecy, and Fantasy that they did some kind of stop motion movie.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And Clive did stop motion movies in his bedroom when he was a kid too.
Yeah.
Having like soldiers fighting monsters, and then he set fire to the wallpaper and had to watercolor over it so his parents wouldn't notice. Yeah. I remember him telling that story.
Oh man!
So that is cool. Jojo Baby.
Yeah,
go check it out.
Yeah, and Rob, you put a trailer link on the story.
You can watch it there. I think I might pick it up.
Sure. Oh, on our podcast feed, we've talked about this before, that we were getting to the point where we're going to have to start removing old episodes from the RSS feed. So like iTunes and Stitcher and those places are they're right now they don't have, I believe, number 1, 2, and 3. So we made a classics episode section of the website. Classic episodes. So we've got 1 through 5 on there. You can either download them or watch them on YouTube.
Yeah, I think we got 1 through 4
on YouTube.
Over there.
Yeah.
Go check out our YouTube channel because, I don't think enough people out there know that we have a YouTube channel. So every time I get a chance, I want to tell people, check it out. It's BarkerCast. There's links on our website to it. And you also find stuff from like the Nightbreed screening in Los Angeles there, like the panel with Clive Barker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have like another panel with Andrew Furtado talking about Nightbreed and editing Nightbreed. And you have several unboxing videos there as well. So go check it out.
Yeah, and we'll just keep doing more there. This is a new one that you had just this was new news that I think you just posted, that this Twisted. It looks like a horror story anthology, and it's like a contest where Clive Barker and Mark Millar are judging which stories enter in the book.
Yes, I didn't really get to look over that one, so I know that. God, I looked at the list of all the specifications of entering it. It looked crazy. I mean,
yeah.
So you'll have to read to our listeners what that is.
Okay, so I opened the website. It says here, launching in 0 week, 3 days, 18 hours, 49 minutes, and 17 seconds. So there's a clock countdown on the website. It says, Twisted is a collection of 50 tales of wickedness, evil, and the paranormal. How much damage can you do with a dangerously sharp pencil? That's kind of a strange question. Can you write a short twisted tale in 2,000 words or less? Can you write some haunting music or create an image that will give us nightmares? The 50 best stories, images, and music tracks will be published in both paperback and online. So basically, they want to create together. We will create a modern masterpiece of horror inspired by what terrified us all as kids. Think Pulp Fiction, only for horror literature. There is no minimum word count, so if you can disturb us in fewer words, perhaps even 50 words, then do it. Music can be between 5 and 12 minutes in length. We urge you to experiment and connect with your dark side. The 50 winning writers, composers, and artists, along with the whole community, friends, and family, will be invited to the book launch, where we will present awards and prizes for outstanding work. So I'm trying to figure out the connection with Clive Barker here.
No, he's just him and Mark Millar are going to
here it is.
What do you call it?
Yeah, like what
industry judges. So the industry judges at the bottom of the page, they list Julian Friedman, literary agent, and Clive Barker's Seraphim. Oh my God, they misspelled Mark Millar's name. They wrote Mark Williams. Mark Williams, vice president of Clive Barker's Seraphim. Uh-oh. And then it says Mark writes, produces, and directs original content alongside master of horror Clive Barker. Millar is also shepherding the release of the director's cut of Barker's classic film Nightbreed.
So they got his last name right in that last sentence.
Yeah, and the bio seems to be a little outdated because it still says he's shepherding the release of Nightbreed. It seems like more of a project to create a community that will be creative and, try to come up with a project that will have 50 stories or music pieces or photography. Mm-hmm. So let's see what comes out of this.
Of course, the music pieces aren't going to be in the paperback. You would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be a CD or something.
So there is a Midian Unmade sweepstakes by Tor. They're giving away some copies of the advanced reader copies that they have of Midian Unmade. I think all you have to do is send an email to Tor, and I'm pulling up the contest page right now. Dell spelled it out at one point, but you send an email to Tor and you have to put something special in the subject and put your name and address, and then you might win a copy of the advanced reader version of Midian Unmade.
Yes.
Okay. Because the book is coming out in July, so...
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Oh, The Painter, the Creature, and the Father of Lies. So that's coming to audiobook, which is interesting because it's a book of introductions, and now there's an audiobook version of it. I don't imagine it's Clive Barker reading it, but you'd kind of hope that, he would.
What is this book about? I'm just curious.
It's literally a book of introductions to other books. They're all put together. Like that introduction to the
Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn. That's in there. That's why I gave mine away when that book came out.
Like the Shadows in Eden book and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nonfiction. So it's nonfiction stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see all that put together because I was trying to collect all those pieces, for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
I'd probably get a hard copy of that myself, but
yeah. I mean, I think the hard copy is better, but it's gotten expensive. I mean, or at least people are trying to sell it for like $250 now.
Sure. On Amazon, I've sometimes called it for about $60.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's the problem with these short, limited editions is that immediately the demand becomes much larger than the number of issues available. So
yeah,
a lot of people end up missing out on it.
I think people push it too. I mean, just because they're asking $250 or whatever doesn't mean they're going to get it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure.
There's another book of his. I don't mean to before we go on.
No, go ahead.
Do y'all have? I'm reading The Dark Fantastic right now, and he's talking about one of the first books he wrote when he was living in that house with all his friends. It's they put it out in a limited edition.
Maximilian Bacchus.
Yeah, I want to get that so bad.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
They got it for Kindle, but I'd love to have a hard book. I just like that.
Yeah,
I read the story synopsis and it sounded really good.
Yeah, I would.
Y'all have that? Either one of y'all have that?
Oh yeah, we did an episode about it.
I first read it when I bought a uncorrected proof of that book, and I think the guy from the publishing house that released it.
Yeah.
I think that...
Roy Robbins.
Yeah, Roy. I think he showed up on Facebook or something saying, hey, who is interested in an uncorrected proof? Just send me an email to Roy at Bad Moon Books and stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm interested. So I bought one and I read it. Maybe a month or so before it came out, I think. Maybe 2 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was cool.
If you go to that Clive Barker Collecting Facebook page... where I put pictures of all of my Clive Barker collection, he came in there and said, hey, I don't see Maximilian Bacchus in there, so I took that picture with Maximilian Bacchus and tagged him on it.
Oh, yeah. There you go. It's a great book.
Yeah.
I just would like to get it sometime.
Yeah, you should. I mean, because it's not like anything else that Clive Barker's done. And it's really cool. It's kind of like serialized stories.
It's short, though. It's really short.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, the Scarlet Gospels reached the top 10 best-selling list.
So that's really good news.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was according... that was, I think, first reported to us by... Was it Clive Barker's Facebook page?
I think so, yeah.
Probably Thomas Negovin caught it first.
Yeah.
And they had said more specific... I'm not seeing it in our story, but they had said more specific about, like, what number it was.
I think number 8 was for the UK. I believe it was.
Actually, I'm looking at the New York Times best-selling book list, and the Scarlet Gospels is number 9.
Okay.
Yeah, it says here, number 9, the Scarlet Gospels. Harry D'Amour, the detective of the supernatural from Barker's Books of Blood, faces off against Pinhead, the sadistic Cenobite from the Hellraiser series. And so New York Times top 10 list has it on number 9 for hardcover fiction. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
When I went into Barnes & Noble to find it, I went to the new fiction section, and it wasn't there, and then I had to ask somebody, and it was on this like round table where they like right by the front door where they were trying to get people to buy like, I don't know, it was like a special display or something. There were only like 4 of them there, though. There were all these other books with it.
Yeah, now I can't wait to have a copy of the UK cover too. That would be sweet.
Me too. Yeah.
I love the David Mack cover.
I do love this one too. I like, once I got it in my hands, I thought this is a really nice edition. I especially love the reversible cover. It seems I saw where somebody in the UK was sort of jealous of the US cover because they wanted the inside painting, and so they were asking if somebody would trade covers with them.
Yeah.
I think that's a mistake, though. I mean, my advice would be don't do that. You don't trade. I think the cover should go with the book that it belongs to. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I love them both. I want to have both, and if I do get both, I'll give away my advanced reader copy to somebody on the podcast. Somebody in our audience.
That's very generous. I saw it going on eBay for close to $100 the other day.
Okay, well maybe we'll edit that part out.
A month or a month and a half ago, it was like $70. Someone was trying to sell one of those, and then I saw one go for like $100.
I'm trying to save up for a PlayStation 4, but at the same time, it's like I have to get the money from selling my stuff because I can't, all the money that I'm making is going towards this credit card debt that we have from heating oil.
Can I talk a little bit about the appearance of the hardcover?
Yeah. Let's go straight into the Scarlet Gospels, and let's start there. That's a good idea.
First of all, something that you didn't get to see in the advanced reader's copy is, of course, the fancy cover and the fancy dust jacket that comes with the hardcover.
Yeah.
Because in the advanced reader's copy, it's just a printed cover, but here you have actual metallic ink on the letters, and it says Clive Barker, the Scarlet Gospels, and it kind of shines when you move it around.
And it's
really gorgeous.
And it's sort of embossed so that the edges of the text are raised.
Yeah, that's right. There's that symbol. And then when you take off the dust jacket, like we mentioned, there's a painting by Clive Barker on the other side. You call this a reversible dust jacket, and I'm going to confess that I actually tried reversing the cover, but I didn't get it to work very well because once you fold it a certain way, it's hard to fold it the other way.
Yeah, I would be afraid to try that. I'd be afraid of wrecking it.
Because it would start breaking the paper in that fold. So if you fold it one way then the other, it's kind of like.
I don't think that it's reversible because you can see in mirror writing the title and stuff on the on the inside.
Right, because it's embossed. But it's a great painting from Clive Barker. I think it's supposed to be the landscape of hell. Yeah, with
it's Lucifer's
tower.
Tower,
yeah.
So is this Lucifer's tower or is this the palace of the unconsumed? Because
there is fire coming. Is there fire coming out of it? Maybe it is the palace of the unconsumed.
Yeah, because I remember reading that was kind of confusing to me. I remember reading, and I'm not going to call him Pinhead because I know he doesn't like to be called that, so I'm just going to call him Lead Cenobite. Okay. When the Lead Cenobite goes to the palace of the unbeheld,
the unconsumed.
Exactly, the unconsumed. I'm sorry, I was mixing a magic into that. When he goes into the palace of the unconsumed, it's described as this giant thorn-like tower with no features at all. Just this black thing going up in the sky. Yeah. So I was wondering, because like you mentioned, there's fire coming out of the top, and I was kind of confused, but I think this may be the Tower of Lucifer and not the Palace of the Unconsumed. Although I have that nagging doubt.
It's hard to know. And I think before we get any further, I may have said this already in the intro, but this is going to be completely full of spoilers. We're talking about this, so please read this book before you listen to this. It's going to be a couple of weeks before our next episode, so you've got plenty of time. Just save this episode at this point until you've read the book, and then come back to it if you haven't read it already.
It's a fast read too. I read it in 6 days.
Yeah, and so that
some people can read it in one sitting.
Yeah, I read a bunch of people read it in 2 sittings, which is pretty good. I think The Hellbound Heart is a lot easier to read in one sitting. You can read that book in like 3 hours, maybe.
I think that's kind of what I did. I remember when I wrote my spoiler-free advanced review, I got the book February 5th, was a Thursday, and then I finished reading it by Saturday afternoon.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know you. I know you beat me, and I got mine a day earlier than you did.
I just hunkered down with a book and
Yeah.
glass of water, and I was just reading the book, and I was just like devouring it.
Yeah.
And I felt it was very cinematic. Things at the beginning in book one, things kind of jump around a little bit chronologically, but then once you reach book two, it's a page turner all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Well, we actually have so many comments and things to discuss. Do we want to start with those and then kind of work through our own thoughts through the course of that and then after?
Sure, okay. Get those out of the way, I guess.
So Joe Turner said, anyone notice the ghost who Norma talks to in the basement is named McNeil, the same name as the boy from the Book of Blood? I guess I didn't put that together. Did you guys?
No, I did not either.
It's one of the ghosts that Norma summons to protect her. But I think this guy, whereas the Books of Blood was called Simon McNeil, this ghost has a name. Harry Nails McNeil.
Oh, okay.
Although it may be a reference because of the McNeil name, it's not the same one.
It's not the same guy.
He was one of the, I've got it written down on this page of my notes right now. He was a ghost. He used to frequent the sex club. That club does where, she's taking refuge after she's hiding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He said he loved crucifixions with a nice blowjob.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's a funny thing. There's a lot of funny stuff, especially when they talk about that sex dungeon that was in this building in New York. So one of the mayor's right-hand man used to walk around in frilly French-made skirts. And, yeah, there's a lot of kinky stuff going on there.
Yeah.
So, especially when Harry goes to investigate that one ghost that, I guess, gets Norma to go to the house. He has, like, a room, kind of like a secret, I guess, sex room or something like that.
Yeah. Jason Starn says, nice depiction of a critical scene. Are they thinking of making a movie? I think that this was a really cinematic book also, but I don't know of any plans to make a movie. I mean, I think that would be cool. The only movie we know about right now is based on the Heaven's Reply short story, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's going to be like a Hellraiser reboot or remake or something?
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do that with that story because that story is not similar to the Hellbound Heart at all.
Yeah.
The movie, it would cost a lot too. I just don't see a lot of people, a company putting the big bucks into this to do it right. This book is driven by strong visuals, and you'd have to have that.
That's a really good point. It would be very heavy on special effects. It would be expensive. I don't know. I mean, nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
Would I like to see a movie based on the Scarlet Gospels? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I would love that. You know, you could even have like Doug Bradley in there looking like an older Pinhead. Oh, sorry. Looking like an older lead Cenobite. So, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it just seems like Hellraiser movies, the budget has been cut in half, like each... After number 4, they just kept cutting the budget on each one until it was smaller and smaller until it was almost nothing on Revelations. So it kind of make it... If this gets acknowledged as a Hellraiser movie, then we have a problem, right? But if it's its own new thing that just happens to have Mr. Lead Cenobite character in it, and it's a Clive Barker movie, maybe it would have a chance. Maybe it could have a big budget.
Yeah, but right now there's no plans to adapt this to a movie form that we know of.
That we know of, yeah. I think that they plan to adapt just about everything, you know. They try all kinds of things and write scripts and stuff, but we just don't, you know, most of it doesn't make it. We're so lucky that we have this book finally, you know?
Yeah.
I think that we need, you know, it's fine to have some time to, you know, put this on our shelf and have, you know, have this that we can read again.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's one of Clive Barker's return to horror and return to Pinhead. I mean, everybody had been waiting for this return to, to know more about the lead Cenobite, to know more about this guy and what drives this character. You know, we've been hearing about the lead Cenobite meeting Harry D'Amour for the last almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was very excited about this, even though he spoiled the surprise really early. Over 15 years ago, he's been saying, I'm going to kill Pinhead in you know, the Scarlet Gospels, and I'm going to get rid of that character.
You know, but I didn't put a lot of stock in that just because he told us a lot about the Scarlet Gospels, and some of that changed, you know, over the course of time and the evolution of this book. I just figured, let's just see what really, you know, let's just read it and see what really happens. Yeah.
So the book opens with, it's divided into three books, I think. Is it 3 or 4? 4, right. The 4th book is very small.
It begins with a prologue and epilogue.
Yeah, and actually book 4 is called Fallout.
Did you guys notice it doesn't have a table of contents?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. You know, I don't think you need one. It was just kind of an odd thing.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Marcus, go ahead.
I was going to say it's also dedicated for Mark, without whom this book would not exist.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because he edited this book for like over a couple of years or something.
Yeah, he was doing that while he was writing Hellraiser comics.
And trying to find Nightbreed.
Yeah, exactly.
Busy man.
Yeah. Marcus Schlogel wrote, I'm at it right now, sucked me in right away. I just wish I had the time to read it in one take instead of having to restart twice every day. Now all we need is the movie with it, a real Clive Barker film, not any bad excuses, since Hellraiser 4, those were all like calling the Cenobite Pinhead. Okay, well, I mean, I think we already kind of went over like our ideas for the film, for a film version of this. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people agree that the movies weren't any good after Hellraiser 4.
There's a few elements in Hellraiser 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 that I kind of enjoy, but they're very small, and they're smaller and fewer as the sequels progress.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I wish that the series had stopped over at 4.
4, yeah.
That would have been it. That would have been a great way. I mean, a great send-off to the character.
Yeah.
But you know, it just kept on going.
Well, the death of Mr. Lead Cenobite was sort of a cheat because it happened so far in the future that they're like, yeah, we killed him off, but you got all of this time where all this other stuff can happen in between that you could make it a million movies still.
Oh yeah.
I don't. That may have been deliberate, or maybe just because of the way the Bloodline story worked. You know, I don't know.
But I agree. I mean, all we need is a movie to go with this book and a real Clive Barker film. That would be great. Unfortunately, you know, Clive Barker doesn't really direct movies anymore.
Yeah.
So,
and Eugene Solomon said, "I'm wondering what was in the 140,000 words that were cut." I think that there's been some discussion about that. You can kind of go through a lot of old interviews and stuff, and him talking about the Scarlet Gospels, and see there's a lot of stuff that he said was going to happen that ended up not.
Like there wasn't there like supposed to be an encounter between Pinhead and Harry when he was real young?
I think so, right? I remember reading something about that.
Yeah,
I do remember reading something about that. Now that you mention
Harry and Jesus, the actual Jesus talking.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, I remember something like that. I've been scouring Revelation interviews for details about the Scarlet Gospels that I can put into an essay, and definitely the Scarlet Gospels started out being a compilation of stories. They were going to be a compilation of stories based on the Bible, and then they became like erotic stories, and you can still remember some titles that he was throwing around. Like one of them was going to be Jehovah's Bitch, and that was going to be the story of a man who would go to bed with the mistress of God, and that was Jehovah's Bitch. Mm-hmm. And there was going to be another one at the Golgotha. There was going to be a story that would place you as a dog at the hill of the crucifixion of Jesus, and that dog would belong to Joseph of Arimathea, and you would see part of the story through his eyes, and then it was weird. I've been discovering a lot of stuff that was cut out of this story. That story, Heaven's Reply, that has been mentioned several times by Mark Millar and Clive Barker, hasn't been released yet, so we can't really discuss it. But Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was going to go into the Scarlet Gospels. At one point, it was supposed to be something that would look like a compilation of books. It was even going to have different paper for different parts of the books.
Well, and there was a point also where it split off. This story split off and was going to be a gigantic novel like Imagica or Everville or whatever.
Sure. I think at one point it was mentioned 230,000 words.
Yeah.
And I think the Scarlet Gospels goes up to 100,000, I think.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we saw the binders. There were several binders.
Yeah.
At Seraphim in a shelf saying Last Hellraiser Story.
Yeah.
Who knows? There's the limited edition of Scarlet Gospels, which I'm sure will release some more sections that were not included.
Well, and before the internet, we weren't privy to all of this inside information, and it's not inside because he's been talking about it in interviews that are public. But we've never, but prior to this, we didn't really know like what Imagica would have looked like, when he first started it, or what were his plans for, The Thief of Always, or whatever. All we knew was the final product.
Well, that's true, but also because Imagica took him like 11 months to finish. Right.
So probably there wasn't nearly as much editing in Imagica as there was in Scarlet Gospels.
Right, because he started writing that. He wrote most of it in like 8 or 9 months, and then there was like some editing, and boom, they published it. And it was like that was Clive Barker when he was really, really like on top of his game.
Yeah. Well, and the Everville, was probably had ideas that went all the way back to when he wrote The Great and Secret Show in like '89, all the way through to '94, which back then seemed like a really long time, but nowadays that's not a very long stretch at all between books.
Sure, and I also think Clive Barker has a very organic way of writing, where he gathers material that he thinks is interesting, and he gathers all that material in a box or a folder, and he kind of outlines where this bit is going to go, or that bit is going to go, or hey, this story is interesting, this medieval legend is interesting. Let's try to find a way to incorporate this somehow, and sometimes those numbers that he throws out of words, they're kind of estimates. They're not really like. He doesn't really have like a plan where he says, well, this part is going to be these many words long and that part is going to be these many words long. So he just ends up, estimating how big the book is going to be.
Yeah. And
for this book, some people mentioned it. I think you can tell that there were parts that may have been taken out. There are one or two little loose ends in the story that I feel like kind of give away that there might have been an intention of making a longer section here and there. But, if it wasn't for Mark Millar and everybody at Seraphim, this would probably still be in a shelf. So I'm glad someone edited this and pulled it together and finally put it out.
And this goes right into Lamont Jaffe. He said, I felt it was a truncated version of something much more wonderful and lavish. I think the publishers didn't know what they had. In the end, it seems that this particular novel was edited severely so that it would read like a film. As a result, it appears to me that the publishers were more interested in film rights rather than allowing Mr. Barker the artistic freedom he deserves. In the end, I feel this short version of the Scarlet Gospels robs the fans of the novel that it could have been. I may be wrong, but I was definitely disappointed in the open threads left untied and the lack of description and detail. It felt like and read like the theatrical version of Nightbreed. Just my take. Okay, so there's a lot of wrong things in what he just said there.
I would say, for one, that the publishers didn't really take out anything.
Yeah, I mean, if they did any editing at all, it was probably grammatical kind of, copy,
right? That
kind of stuff. All of the editing was done between Clive Barker and Mark Millar.
Yeah, and Ben Mears.
Yeah, I think all of that was them, them workshopping, hashing it all out, and deciding what would be the best final version of this book. And Clive Barker put, he made this and decided this was the final form that he wanted it to take. I don't think anybody screwed him over.
No.
I know what the part he's bringing up. One of the parts where he's where one of the loose threads is left, not answered, is that beginning with the Hell Priest kills the
magicians.
The magicians, and one of the magicians is pregnant. Pinhead forces her to have the baby, and he basically turns into like a demon.
Yeah.
And the woman, like the baby grows within minutes into a full woman. Mm-hmm. And I can see where he's coming from. But the way I took it, it was like almost like I read it to where it was like Barker was making the Hell Priest kind of mocking the woman that the character, can't remember her name.
Her name was Kotlov.
Yeah, and mocking the whole birth process in general.
He actually asks her at one point, he puts his hand on her and says, "How many abortions did you have?" And she says, 11. Wait, he says, "I count 11." And she says, "Yeah, that's right." And he said, "Well, I'm gonna make your body do what it was supposed to do." Or something.
Yeah, she wasn't. I don't think she was pregnant until he came along.
Yeah, well, in any case, she does deliver a demonic baby, and that ends up feeding on his own mother, and it's a daughter. Then the daughter grows up to almost adulthood, and it's like, is she like a succubus or something? Like a female demon that's released onto the world. Is that how these guys are made? That kind of raises that question, like what goes on to happen after she leaves the room, that demon, But maybe that's just how these demons got created, through violent acts like these.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty gross the way he wrote that. The opening scene is. Yeah. Oh man, I was really. Some great descriptions.
The prologue is called Labor Diabolus, which means the devil's work, and so it's really cool because I guess it's a great opening to the book.
Oh man, yeah, it was such a punch in the stomach. I mean, I guess
you mean a chain in the stomach.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, well, there was definitely a lot of that. Yeah, and also him talking about all of this, like St. Martin's Press wanting to get film rights. I mean, that's not how book publishing companies work.
I think he's interpreting this in his own way, and I don't think that this may be an accurate interpretation of what happened to the book.
Yeah,
I think that probably what happened was that they finally wanted to get the Scarlet Gospels published, but they didn't have a publisher. So if you recall, there was kind of a bid thing going on where they opened up for publishers to make them an offer, or make a bid for the publishing rights of the Scarlet Gospels, which, let's be honest, everybody wants a new Clive Barker book.
Except for HarperCollins, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's their loss. I mean, it's now number 9 on the New York Times bestseller list. I mean, it's selling like hotcakes.
I think they screwed up, and it's just internal politics,
Could be, yeah. So one of the things that I would interpret is that this was just something that needed to be done. Clive Barker wanted this book to come out. They worked together to make the best version that they could of the Scarlet Gospels, and they released it. And I, for one, I really enjoy the book.
Yeah.
Is it as good as Imagica or something like that? That's my favorite book. I mean, I don't think it's as good as Imagica. I mean, there's not all the subplots that Clive Barker would sometimes weave into the story, where you have several levels of story going on. Like there was the in Imagica there was the blue egg and the topic of motherhood and the power of women, and then there was the tabula rasa, and then there was all that stuff going on with the Godolphin and the Sertori. So that book is like, I don't know, that book is like an amazing work of art. That is Clive Barker's masterpiece to me.
Yeah.
And the Scarlet Gospels, I would still rate it, like I said, within my top 5 Clive Barker books for sure.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think it's great, and also I don't think that it would be fair to try to compare it to, the other bigger, more ambitious books like Imagica, because it's a different kind of a thing. I don't, and it's also, this book is also higher on the ambition spectrum, I think, than like Mr. Begone, right? They're both great. They're all great books in their own way, and they sort of serve a different purpose.
And not trying to damn the book with faint praise, but I mean, he does create a world in hell. I mean, it's an amazing feat that what he does here. He describes different orders of demons. He describes the flora and fauna of hell. there's landscape, there are landmarks, there's cities, there's palaces, and all these things are described with such original, mastery, with such original, elements that I've never seen anywhere else before.
I was totally blown away by some of the stuff, like the devil throws a worm at the sky and breaks the sky. I mean, where else are you going to read something like that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, the gigantic towers, or the Unconsumed.
Yeah, the Unconsumed was amazing.
The Unconsumed was really amazing. And when they go into this, of course, I'm jumping the shark here, but when they go into Lucifer's Cathedral, the description of the clockwork mechanics inside the tower, where he describes this gigantic, like,
suicide machine.
Like glass skeletons that are just like part of the engineering, and that there's so much stuff here. I mean, even the Chamber of the Unbeheld he describes the throne of the Unbeheld demon, not the Unbeheld, Unconsumed.
Yeah.
He describes the throne of the Unconsumed, and there's these like vast exhaust holes on top of the chamber that kind of take away the flames and the heat outside, and there's these giant fire spouts that are like burning the Unconsumed's body. Yeah, the scope in this is just gigantic. Every time you go into a palace or a building or something, there's an infernal majesty that permeates this whole book, and I really enjoyed it. So does it seem a little linear in some points? Yeah, it does sound a little linear. Like I said, I think it just makes it more of a page turner.
Yeah. Because
I wouldn't want the characters to be stuck in hell for too long either. I mean, if you wanted to turn this into like an Imagica like situation. There's not the wonder in like,
it's not like a fairy tale land.
Right.
It's like the longer they stay there, the more people are gonna die.
They're physically assaulted by hell every minute that they're in there.
Yeah.
And so
it's
a place where they want to be there as little time as possible.
Yeah.
So, but there are, does it feel like a stunted story? Not at all. But it does feel like there are moments here that the story probably was planned out to be larger in some sections, and then it's not. Or moments where it feels like transition between a certain chapter and another. It feels like there must have been something.
Yeah, like the time that it took to get from the Unbeheld to like Lucifer's Tower.
Right.
Seems
like moments like that.
It felt short, kind of like the way the Lord of the Rings movies shortened the Fellowship of the Ring shortened their travel time.
Right.
Yeah.
It does feel like the story kind of ushers you forward and says, don't worry how they got there, they just got there. And I felt that little element there, but at the same time, I was in such a rush to turn the pages that I didn't mind that at all.
Yeah. Derek Horwood said, "We all know him as Pinhead, yet the Hell Priest takes exception to this title and behaves like a petulant child at its utterance. Do you think it's because he had too much human contact over the years, or is Clive really pissed off at what the later films have done to the character? I personally found it hilarious that he could so easily be wound up by calling him a name." Yeah. I mean, I think it is. I think it's definitely a shot at what the characters become. Yeah.
I think that imagine the Pope, and imagine if someone would go into the Pope's chamber and start calling him like,
Poofy hat or
Goofy hat or something,
bubble car,
pointy hat.
Yeah.
Probably even the Pope would probably not like that. So
yeah.
It kind of denies it. It's dismissive and denies him of his power and his importance. So I guess I can understand why he would turn on the person who called him that.
Well, and even in the movies and stuff, when he gets called Pinhead, it's an insult. It's never. I mean, it's in the credits, but it's never.
Play with this, Pinhead.
Yeah. It's never done as like, oh, this is what his real name is. It's just because he doesn't have a name, so this is what we're going to call him, I guess.
In the movies, how many times did he get called Pinhead, though?
Maybe like only twice, I think.
Yeah.
I know he gets called by Bobby Merchant. Play with this Pinhead, and I can't think of the second instance where he gets called Pinhead.
Yeah.
Maybe Hellraiser 8.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah. I mean, I try to avoid them.
He gets called worse things in the book. I mean, at one point, Norma is trying to remember what was the name that Harry Demore called the demon, and she goes like, "Was it Dickface, Pinprick, Pinhead?"
Yes. Oh yeah.
She goes through all those things, and yes,
in
the prologue,
I think he's called Pinfuck too.
Yeah.
Pinfuck, and in the prologue, Rogowski defiantly calls him Pinhead, even when Pinhead is killing him for the second time. He keeps spitting that word out because he knows how much that annoys him.
Yes.
I think it's a mix of the two things that Derek said. I mean, I think it's a mix of him wanting to... he's tired of the Hellraiser and he's tired of this character and you know.
And that's not a name that Clive Barker ever came up with, right? I mean, in the first Hellraiser, he was called Lead Cenobite in the credits. And it, you know, and then it was in somebody else's movie they called him Pinhead in the credits, and then that name took off and that character took off.
It was a backstage nickname for them by the makeup team, right? Like the female Cenobite was Deep Throat.
Yeah, which I'm sure that mortified Grace Kirby.
Deep Throat.
Yeah,
and Butterball and Cheddar.
Yeah,
those were names that were given to them on set.
Right. Like Butterball, I'm sure wouldn't want to be called Butterball.
Yeah, poor Simon.
Yeah.
So I think he might have had like some kind of resentment about the character, like the direction that he was taken by some movies.
Yeah. Well, and the whole series, really. I mean, once they stopped even bothering to ask to put his name on there after they went to video.
I do think it is in character with the lead Cenobite to get angry at being called that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's out of character because, again, he's a demon and he tortures people and it's...
And he's done it thousands of times and we have no idea how old he is.
For him, it's probably as easy as breathing. And we do see instances in the book where he gets really violent and really... He enjoys... I wouldn't say enjoys, but he does his best to inflict suffering upon others.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to take too much effort on his part to do it.
Derek went on to say, loved visuals of hell. The white grass reminds me of infrared photography. Yeah, I thought the white grass was kind of a neat touch, too. And it seemed like maybe something that could have come to Clive Barker in a dream. Because it wasn't, it seemed like one of those kind of neat little details that didn't really affect the plot or move the story forward. It was just kind of a thing, to... It added
neat little detail.
Yeah, it added
another layer of originality.
Yeah, exactly. To immerse you in more immersion, I guess, into the story.
Sure.
Yeah, Richard Langston said, another issue. If Clive is going to take exception to Pinhead's name and use the character as a mouthpiece to voice his discontent, why didn't he bother to give us something better? At least comics gave us, I don't know how to pronounce that. Is it Zype Totek?
Yeah, that was like his name in the comic books in the Epic Marvel. I think it was supposed to be the Flayed One.
Yeah, and that was a title that other people gave him. And in the Jihad comics, he said it's a title that it was a blasphemous title that he'd always rejected. So even in the comics, he didn't want that name.
That name was an actual real deity of the Aztec mythology.
Yeah.
You can find Zype Totek in the Codex Borgia. So he would wear a bloody weapon and a flayed human skin that he would wear as a suit. You remember when the Marvel did the Pinhead comic series? Yeah. There was like 6 issues where they tried to show you that it wasn't just one person who became that character. It was like this entity that took several forms over the ages.
Yes, yeah.
I found that idea very attractive to me. I mean,
it was interesting, yeah. Some of them, it seemed like, didn't even realize that they were demons. Ben Warren said, I guess going back to that last point, I guess really quick, it seemed like the point of the Cenobites is that they don't have names, that they have jobs, right?
Exactly.
Like that's always been kind of my feeling about them. they don't have personalities or names. They have jobs that they're supposed to do, and he only gets, tries to. I think his ambition is what kind of defines him and ruins him in this book.
Yeah.
Him actually individuating and trying to separate himself from the other Cenobites. Yeah.
I guess the question here that I would ask Richard is, what would you mean by something better? Because what would you like?
He didn't like the book very much.
Well, what does he mean by something better? That's the question here. Because would he want something closer to the movie? Did he want something closer to the Hellbound Heart? Even though it's kind of hard to determine which Cenobite in the Hellbound Heart is supposed to be the lead Cenobite. I mean, there's one that's described as having a breathy voice like an excited girl that has these bejeweled pins stuck to the intersections, including his tongue or her tongue.
Yeah.
So it's never really fleshed out as the movie character that he becomes. I think this character is, at its core, the version that you see in the Scarlet Gospels is the one from the movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think there's a slight disconnect between this one and the one in the Hellbound Heart.
Yeah, and there was some sort of a mention of that in the book that, what was it, that there had been previous versions of him, or there was like it was some sort of evolution, or that there had been other versions of him, or I can't remember.
I know for a fact that when Clive was writing the Hellbound Heart, in one of the first drafts of the story, the Cenobites were more demon-like, and they were called Scalpels. Huh. And they were going to be a little more monstrous. Well, even more than they are. But I remember that because once I saw photos of the manuscript of the Hellbound Heart, so there were written on the side Scalpels, and there was a drawing of like this hunchback kind of creature. But again, it's like, what does he mean by better? Does he mean a more subdued Pinhead, a more like Hellraiser 1, where he doesn't really touch Kirsty, but he's saying, don't close the box, don't do that. But he doesn't really reach for her.
No, he means a better name than Pinhead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he says, well, if he doesn't like Pinhead, why doesn't he give us a better name?
Oh, I thought he was talking about the character in the book.
No, he just means the name. It's like, at least the comics gave us the name Zype Totek.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought the character was great.
Yeah, I do too. Ben Warren said, I think you've mentioned this before, but the bit where Norma Payne gets the shit kicked out of her by Pinhead seems out of character. Having perfected the art of inflicting pain, that type of violence seems a little beneath him, which makes me think Clive did it intentionally, but I couldn't figure out what his motive was. And I've been thinking about that too, and I think that this is all a part of Pinhead sort of individuating, like we said before, where he's separating himself, he's getting his own personality, and his ambition to take over hell and all of the other stuff that he wants to do. I think that he's rejecting his job and his purpose.
That's a good way of looking at it. I thought maybe in a way it was just him mocking the way humans inflict pain upon each other.
Yeah.
And and beating a 90-year-old woman that way.
Yeah,
it was like kind of his way of I don't know. The way I looked at Pinhead in this story was that he was a very arrogant character.
Yeah,
I don't see how this is out of character, because when Pinhead goes down to the Channel houses on the side of his monastery, he goes in there and they explain to us that the Channel houses were made to put equipment that they used to torture people inside the monastery, including like chainmail, aprons, and tools that were gummed up with blood. Yeah. So these are demons. These are Cenobites. These are demons that they torture and they inflict strange tortures and agonies upon the damned, if we can call them the damned. I mean, it wasn't very clear what kind of hell this is. Like, I know in the comic books they made a distinction. They created like a rift between the Cenobite hell and the infernal hell of damnation. But I was never happy about that thing in the comic books, though. I mean, I always wanted the afterlife to be you die and then that's it. And so I always figured that this hell of the Cenobites was a place where you would be transported to by Cenobites if you open the box. Yeah. Obviously, in this book, that's not really the same hell. This hell is a place where they actually, I think they mention the damned. It's also a place where people would spend their afterlife, but they could even have small amounts of happiness. I mean, they do mention that the damned would serve the Cenobites. There's different places like Parathia, that's the name of one of the cities in hell. And then there's Fike's Trench, which is like a slum full of like demons and other damned people.
Yeah. But
they do mention that some of these damned, they could meet lovers and even have kids.
Yeah.
So that's, I would say, little bits of comfort that they would allow the damned in hell, which doesn't seem to be all that fire and brimstone kind of thing.
Right. It's like they're not, the demons don't consider themselves there to punish people.
But again, going back to that, I mean, I imagine the Cenobites would torture people. I'm sure they had a reason for that. They don't really explain what the reason for the Cenobites to do that are. That's one of the things that I would have liked to see the story go more into. Like, why do they do that? Is it just because those people are damned? Why do they torture them? Are they trying to discover what makes them tick? Are they trying to make some sort of ritual with them? Is that part of their ritualistic society or life in the monastery? I wanted to know more about that. They didn't really deliver on that part.
It didn't seem like that Lucifer had anything to do with what they were doing. You know what I mean? It felt like they were kind of doing their own thing. This is the order of the gash. This is what they wanted to do. But it didn't. I don't understand. I mean, because it seemed like in the movies in Hellraiser 2, Leviathan sort of took away their humanity and made them sort of instruments.
Sure, and in this one, there's no Leviathan.
Yeah.
So this is another break that the Scarlet Gospel does with the movies. I mean, whereas in the movies you have Leviathan, you have the maze. There is a maze in this book. When they reach the Tower of Lucifer, there is a maze-like section, but they don't even mention that much. They just mention this maze with machinery going on inside. But I was curious about that. I wanted to know more if Leviathan was going to be into this. But, it turned out to be more of a Judeo-Christian sort of hell with Lucifer and demons and fallen angels and stuff like that.
And the demons are so busy, worrying about politics and what each other are doing. It seemed like the damned were just sort of on their own.
Yeah, they serve the demons, but, if they're lucky, it's an afterlife where they can still find a purpose and not be tortured 24/7.
Well, can they live and die? I mean, do those people? I didn't get a sense of really an understanding about, where did those people are souls, right? Are they mortal? Can they get killed in there? Do they just get tortured forever and they keep coming back?
The demons can, so I would assume that the damned can die too.
Yeah.
Which would be like a second death. I don't know.
Yeah. Where do they go?
There's a moment where Norma Payne asks a demon, "Do demons have ghosts?" Because they're going across this wasteland full of machines that were I think they're machines that they try to storm heaven with or something.
Yeah.
And there's all these remains, and so demons can die and angels can die. The point of this was, I would imagine that the Cenobites were capable of inflicting pain in several levels, and the physical being just another one of those levels. And so I would understand Cenobites going elbows deep into some poor soul's body. When you look at Pinhead in the movies, he does have red fingertips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least in the first one.
Yeah, and I think that once Clive Barker described the Cenobites or the hell of the Cenobites as being like these operating theaters, rows upon rows upon rows of operating theaters for the surgeons from beyond, he calls them in Weave World.
Yeah.
So I would say they're pretty obsessed about flesh.
We don't know why.
We don't know why, though. I would love to know that. Yeah,
because Lucifer doesn't seem to care what the other demons do.
No.
And the unconsumed, it's not like he was appointed, right? I think he was the only guy that could sit on the throne after Lucifer disappeared.
He could be appointed for all we know, but definitely he was not reporting to Lucifer.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the only one that wouldn't get burned up when he would sit on the throne. So I think that was his qualification.
It's a weird thing because there seems to be some sort of hierarchy in hell, but there doesn't seem to be a leader, right?
Yeah.
There's even bureaucrats in gray suits and giant tumors in their backs, and there's also kind of a police. There's like people directing traffic in the streets of hell. There's demons directing traffic in the streets of hell, and I thought that's just amazing. That makes hell like a complete parallel dimension. Not just a place of spiritual torture.
Mm-hmm.
They even mentioning, this is kind of going in, I don't know if it was a little Easter egg to y'all, but they talked about the tortured souls, what's it called? Pandemonium, or how is that it's pronounced?
Pandemonium.
Pandemonium, yeah.
Well, Pandemonium comes from John Milton's Paradise Lost poem.
Mm-hmm.
Pandemonium is supposed to be the first city that was built after the fallen angels wake up in hell.
I've got that book. I just not read it. I've not read that yet. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Stephanie Irabaran said, I don't understand why the Hell Priest raped Norma. That would be interesting to flesh out, plus all the Easter eggs. I wrote them all down, the ones I could find. So I don't know if that's going to be repeated in her message that she left for us.
So, again, it's another question. I mean, why would he do that? To me,
it was just a final F you to Harry, if you ask me. It was just kind of like, because Pinhead was his plans were kind of full by that point. So he was just like...
Yeah, and Harry was supposed to be writing his Scarlet Gospels, right? And Harry just took off and left him.
Sure. Yeah. We would explain that a little further in the book, but... I think that's just another way he finds to inflict pain and control upon Norma, and also to inflict pain on Harry, because he knows that he's going to get to Harry by doing this to Norma, because Norma is one of the only persons that he really cares about.
I think so too. I mean, pain is he's an expert, I guess.
They just use the term violated, right? I mean, do we know for a fact that he, physically raped her in that kind of, usual sense of being raped? I mean, could he have done something?
I thought they used that word.
Did they? Okay, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually trying to find that, but the way that she talks to him,
Luna says it to him. The character Luna.
Is anybody able to play Stephanie's file into the microphone so we can hear it?
Okay.
See.
Hi, this is Stephanie Irabaran, and I've read the Scarlet Gospels. This is some of my impressions of this amazing book, this amazing story. First off, I think if you're a fan of Clive's writing and a fan of his books, when I'm reading this story, there's so much that I'm pulling in, so much references that it doesn't feel like these are totally different people, totally different characters. Unless they're new characters to the story, but Damore and Pinhead, we're going back to familiar people that we know and love, and I thought that was really cool. But also with this novel, Clive has a knack. It seems like he has this knack of pulling in parallels from my life and putting them in the story. He knows this weird information about me, and so I can find this weirdly relatable and familiar. And even though I've never dealt with Felix Sin or took a walk through hell, at least not in that sense, there's just something very, very familiar with his story. But if you follow Clive's personal life that's kind of put out there, it seems in a way that there are some connections between Clive and Harry Damore. It's kind of hard not to have that in the periphery, but that when Damore goes to a very dark place and becomes blind and kind of emerges different and maybe more at peace, it kind of made me think of the coma that Clive was under, a very dark place. So I've read, kind of makes me think maybe that kind of influenced Harry D'Amour's journey a little bit. Might have been through these real life experiences. There's a lot of lushness, even though there's not a million characters to keep track of. There's a handful, and it's so inspiring. The Scarlet Gospels is so inspiring if you're an artist and maybe you've been out of the game and not drawing or not painting. He has these beautiful and weird descriptions of things and places that I have to draw this. I have to paint this. I have to see it. I can see it in my head. I could totally put it on paper. And so some examples is Felixson. I had to, gosh, what a poor guy would happen to him. I had to actually read it a few times what his face looked like so I could kind of wrap my mind around what was done to him. And I've definitely, it's kind of weird, but I saw an actor playing Felixson in my mind. Like, you know, there's some moments I think, gosh, could this be translated to something visual like a movie? And yes, actually, I think there is a lot that could be. And I definitely thought of an actor named, gosh, I'm going to butcher his last name because I've never heard anybody say his last name before. David Tsiolis. He was an actor in the 1990s version of Dr. Moreau. And he's a lot of really interesting roles. He was Professor Lupin in the Harry Potter series. I saw him as Felixson. It's pretty weird. There's the Channel Houses, and there's one of the buildings in hell where there's a face frozen in motion, and the three pyramids kind of balanced onto each other. That is very amazing. And another inspiring moment from the book to make it a little bit more personal is the cranes. So because of the Scarlet Gospels, I folded my first paper crane. I got origami paper that was really, really tiny because I really didn't know what I was doing, and so I have these really tiny paper cranes sitting around the house for a long time. Yes. Also, in terms of visualization, the scenes in hell, I really thought of. So there's two songs that I thought of in the book that just kind of popped out of nowhere. The first song is called "The Prodigal Son Brings Death." And that's on the Blade Runner's 30th anniversary soundtrack. For some reason, that always makes me think of hell, and hell makes me think of that song. So, sorry, Christopher Young. But yes, his music also kind of plays in my head too with the chiming. And another song that's so cool because it goes along with the story is the Ecstasy of Gold, from when Tuco in The Good and Bad and the Ugly is running around in the graveyard with this really cool suit on, and he's kind of running in circles, and he's looking for the tombstone, and that kind of reminded me of the Hell Priest looking for Lucifer. Looking at my notes right now. I heard many years ago that the Scarlet Gospels was originally intended to be erotic short stories. So it's kind of interesting that in the book there's nothing super erotic, not sensual, but I guess when I think of erotic short stories, I'm thinking they're probably sexual, but in the Scarlet Gospels, there is one scene that comes to mind, and that's the scene where Harry D'Amour's partner was murdered, and there was there was a demon that was really enjoying murdering this poor fellow, and the censor. This is a horrible thing that happened, but Clive just has a way of making something seem so. I know this probably says something really bad about me, but it very, very erotic. Let's see. And so going back to erotic short stories. I don't know if I should have said that, but looking at the Easter eggs that I wrote down, I love the words that I wrote down some words I had never heard before, like Lilliputian, and let's see, Lilliputian and antediluvian trees, epoididactic opiate, pugilistic pose. I actually Googled that. That's very, very sad thing, but it's a very interesting word. Teufel sprach, which is devilspeak, on page 353. The Easter egg that I think would be a bit interesting. I don't even know if it's an Easter egg, but I don't even know if this is an Easter egg, but I went to a book signing one time. I believe it was Cold Hard Canyon, and Clive was talking about some stories about his life, and he mentioned that Whoopi Goldberg is a huge fan of his work, and I don't know if this was something he said or something that someone had mentioned at that particular book signing, but that perhaps he might have had Whoopi Goldberg in mind as the character. Her name escaped my mind, but from Cold Hard Canyon, the character that was president of a huge fan club. And I think he might have said that he kind of thought of Whoopi Goldberg, or Whoopi Goldberg might have been a good candidate to play her in a film. So when I was reading the Scarlet Gospels, I couldn't help but think of Whoopi Goldberg as a character of Norma. And so Whoopi Goldberg, in the 90s, she played the Cheshire Cat in a television adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. And there is a quote in the Scarlet Gospels, and the quote says, "Norma smiled like a friendly Cheshire cat." So, I don't know, maybe it's reaching, but yeah, so just looking back into my notes, there's a lot of really cool quotes, a lot of cool words, Yapora Yarisiak, the last of all possibilities, in quoto, and Deus ex infernus. So that is the end of my impressions of the book. I hope that you could find something useful. I'm just kind of looking at my notes that I scribbled when I was reading the book, because I was, like all of you, very in anticipation of this story, and it was kind of like a huge event. It still is a huge event, but every time I came home from work, that was the thing to do, is lounge on this chair by this fireplace that we have, but it's not really a fireplace, but it kind of looks like a fireplace, and read the book. That was like the thing I longed for every day for 2 weeks. So I hope you can find something out of all of that, and thank you for inviting me to the podcast. I'm a little scared to go back and listen to this, because I'll probably do it all over again and 30 more times. So thank you. Good night.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks to Stephanie for your impressions. Let's trying to think back from the beginning there.
Well, she talks. She brought up.
She talks about the actor that she thinks would work for Felixson.
David.
Oh yeah.
Tsiolis.
Tsiolis. Yeah. He was.
I can't picture him.
He was in that Dr. Moreau movie with Val Kilmer. He plays the guy who gets shipwrecked and ends up in the island of Dr. Moreau. He also played one of the professors in Harry Potter. That's kind of a cool actor. I like his movies a lot. I saw a different character for Felixson, to be honest. I saw Jeffrey Jones as Felixson. Jeffrey Jones was the
principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, exactly. That's the guy I saw as Felixson.
He's done other stuff too, but yeah,
he was in Howard the Duck as well. Yeah, I would see him as Felixson because he's got that Weasley kind of look. And I saw all these magicians as someone who's been pretty comfortable in their life and, certain age. So I would see that guy as Felixson. That guy in Rogowski or Rogowski.
Yeah.
I would see him as like Jeff Fahey. He was in Machete movie, and he was also the dumb guy in Lawnmower Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That.
I saw that guy as Rogowski with a beard, like with a goatee and slick back hair. That could work for me as Rogowski. It's just these things that popped in my mind when I was reading the book.
Yeah.
But she was bringing up a good point about I couldn't picture how to view Felixson either at first.
So his face is sawn through from the top down to his neck, and then there's a pipe stuck in between the two halves.
Yeah.
And so his eyes are looking outward on each side, left and right, 45-degree angle than normal. So my point is, how do the two sides of his head not just fall to the sides? Why is that pipe in there keeping them together somehow when it should be doing the opposite? I was kind of having a hard time visualizing that. And then I just try to imagine, like, those guppies that have, like, bubbly eyes, and then it's like they got bug eyes, and one eye is looking this way, the other eye is looking that way?
Yeah.
That was kind of like I was visualizing Felixson.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole scene is pretty gruesome.
What is his, what's his garb, though? What's he wearing? I can't remember what his costume was, though.
Wasn't he naked?
Was he naked? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he was naked because he's just a dog. So
yeah.
I like the fact that his tongue is like coming out of his like open throat, and sometimes it flops down the side of his head. And in some scenes when he's like kneeling down, his tongue actually touches the floor.
Oh.
Yeah, that was kind of gruesome.
Yeah.
Visualize.
Jeez.
And she also mentions a few words that she didn't know, like pugilistic, has to do with boxing, like a pugilist.
Yeah.
And
antediluvian.
Antediluvian just means like something that's really old before the deluge.
Yeah.
And Teufelsprache, which is like devil speak, that's German.
Yeah.
So yeah, that pretty cool impressions. An interesting thing about Norma.
Yeah, definitely.
That she visualizes Norma as Whoopi Goldberg.
I didn't know Whoopi Goldberg was a big fan of his.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Man, every time I think about Whoopi Goldberg, I either think of The View or Theodore Rex.
I think of
Sister Act.
Sister Act, yeah, that's the last thing I saw with her.
Oh, that's right. I haven't seen it in like 20-something years.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. She draws that parallel with
And then Star Trek: The Next Generation too. She was the bartender.
Oh, and Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost. She played that character that couldn't see ghosts, but she could hear them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of an interesting parallel there.
Yeah, like she says she visualizes Norma as being Whoopi Goldberg.
But which came first, Lost Souls or Ghost?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Ghost, I think. I would say Ghost, probably. But
I don't know. Lost Souls was like 84.
Oh, then it was Lost Souls then, because Ghost came out in
85?
1990.
Okay. Yeah, so Lost Souls came first.
I still think, in my mind, Norma would be an older person, like older than Whoopi Goldberg, I would say.
Yeah.
Wearing like sunglasses and having maybe even gray hair. Being a little more heavy set, like an older Southern black lady for me. That's Norma.
Yeah, well, and she's blind, so she probably doesn't get around a huge amount.
Oh yeah, she has all
she has to stay at all those TVs, and she has to stay in her house to deal with all those ghosts that are lined up at her door.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the old Spider-Man comic books, especially some from the 80s, I think? There was also this one psychic lady called Lady Webb, I think, or Madam Webb, and she was also a blind psychic, and she wore like a blindfold, and she sat in this throne, and she had like a red dress with a spider on it. I remember that. That's coming to my mind when I think of Norma, because this one was a psychic character.
That had that character you're talking about. I used to watch the Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man cartoon. That character was in there.
Oh yeah, I think I remember seeing a couple of episodes like that. So yeah, that's cool. I mean, do you guys sometimes visualize actors while you're reading a book?
To be honest, I don't really.
No,
I did in this. I pictured. For the first part, I pictured Doug Bradley as Pinhead in the first part, but in the second part, I saw something different. For some reason. And then I saw Scott Bakula.
Scott Bakula,
sure.
Yeah, definitely, me too.
Yeah, me too.
But the other people, I just sort of imagine them the way they're described. I think I make up my own. I don't know. I never really.
I imagine Kaz as being kind of a Dennis Rodman kind of character.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that was something I wanted to ask you guys. Has Kaz's name ever been mentioned before? We knew that he got tattoos, as you know, and that he had a tattoo artist that made these tattoos as to protect him. Yeah. But was Kaz's name ever mentioned before?
I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
I don't think so either. I think this is kind of a new little piece of Barker lore that we have. Also, the writing on the puzzle box is Teufelsprache.
Right.
That was never mentioned before.
No, that's pretty cool. Actually, that makes us understand the symbol of those sigils in the box now. Yeah.
Yeah, which the box in the Hellbound Heart was all just black.
Also, if you guys are really interested in the box and how the design came to be, I think that Mark Buckle from the Labyrinth website, I think he has an interview that he did with Simon Sacy, who constructed the box. So I'm not sure if that's up yet, but I'll ask Mark Buckle when he's going to put that up.
That would be cool.
Because Simon Sacy explains some secrets that are hidden in the box. In the symbols and the drawings that he did, like for example, when it's solved in the star position, you get to see a little stylized rendition of the engineer monster from Hellraiser 1.
Oh
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, you get to see that.
That's awesome.
I think I have a graphic of that I can put in the show notes.
Oh, I think I've seen that before. You might have shown it to us, or
right.
Somebody, yeah.
So Easter eggs. Easter eggs are really cool. Stephanie mentioned a few that she thought were Easter eggs. I have a few I'd like to mention. Some that were really obvious was, for example, Rupert's Deli. Rupert, I think this is an Easter egg because Hans Rupert, wasn't he involved with writing the script for the Saint Sinner movie?
He was.
Right.
And the Tortured Souls that never got made. He worked on that.
There you go. So Rupert, it's spelled exactly like the same as this guy, except this guy here is not called Hans. He's just called Jim Rupert, and he has a deli. And then of course, Harry the Moor walks out of the deli and goes to his pub, and it's Charrington's pub, which I think is a reference to Russell Charrington from the Cabal Cup. Other Easter eggs that I've found, and I don't know if you guys want to jump in with one, but another one was when the lead Cenobite, when the Hell Priest is getting rid of his colleagues at the monastery, there's one. He goes into the monastery after he releases the cranes, the paper cranes, with the death writs. That's an African sort of magic. And he walks over this one priestess with whom he had collected souls with a few times that's dying on the floor. I think that's a female Cenobite.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because the next cell, there's a corpulent brother who's also dying, and he has glasses. And they never liked each other. They never liked each other, but he says, "Oh, you did this, you killed me," and it's like this really fat Cenobite with glasses. So I think that's Butterball.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I guess there's a few others. I think. Did you guys have any that you wanted to talk about?
Well, what's his name at the beginning? The corpse. No, Pinhead says it. He says, Pinhead says, or no, it was the corpse. He says Jesus wept.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, just like Frank does in Hellraiser. Right, good catch.
Yeah, and we've heard that was an ad lib from Andrew Robinson. Jesus wept.
It was.
Yeah, didn't he originally said like "fuck you" or something like that?
Yeah, he was going to be like defiant to the end.
Yeah, but I think Jesus wept is
much better. Powerful.
Yeah. That's people will remember that forever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's another one. Norma says she used to live in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Off of a winding road called Cold Hard Canyon.
Yeah.
So there you go. Cold Hard Canyon right there. Another reference.
Lord of Illusions reference.
What's that?
Remember when Harry he's describing Harry. Yeah, I have it written down, but he talks about how Harry had to deal with some crazy cultists down in the desert with his followers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's great.
Jeez, man, I must have missed that.
Me too.
Let me see what page it's on. I have it written down here, but my notes it's like 30 or 40 pages of notes.
I also have another one, is that when Harry and Kaz and Dale and, the rest of the people, Lana, I think, when they're fighting the demons in Fike's Trench, the narrator starts calling them the Harrowers.
Yeah.
That's from the comic books, isn't it?
Yeah, from the comic books, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and Clive likes to use that word for people that go into hell to fight the demons and stuff.
Yeah, because it comes from the harrowing, which is, I think this comes from the Divine Comedy written by Dante. It's mentioned that when Christ resurrected, he went down into hell and he released a few of the damned that were there. So he broke down the walls of the demon city, and he rescued a few of the damned and took them up to heaven with him.
Yeah, especially the people who, were there just because they were born before Jesus was alive.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like they went to hell because they didn't know about Jesus because they didn't have a chance to.
Sure, yeah. In Dante's Divine Comedy, there's like a limbo of sorts where you find philosophers from ancient Greece and stuff.
Yeah.
Here's that Easter egg I was telling you about. It's on page 260. He had watched. He talked about he had watched a scummy had been burned alive. He had watched a crazed cult figure slaughter his entire congregation.
There you go.
That has to be from Lord of Illusions.
Yep.
Man, good find. Holy cow.
That is pretty good.
Yeah.
Now that we've done away with the listener feedback, we can actually go to our notes.
Yeah. Well, do we want to do? There's one more Easter egg that.
It's the best one.
Should we talk about that? Yeah.
Me, it is. I called it instantly.
Yeah, okay. Ryan and Armando.
Yeah.
Right? Or Armando and Ryan. Of course, Armando is your middle name.
Yeah, it is. I'm still, I want to believe that that's kind of a sneak reference there, but I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But yes, yeah, I'm definitely Armando. So there you go.
I think it is. And although in real life I would never say don't make my Thai food spicy.
Oh, because you like it spicy?
Yeah, I get it really spicy.
Oh, there you go. I think in real life you wouldn't open the Hellraiser box either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that character, it seemed like he's like, oh no, fuck you, I found it in the garbage.
It's my box.
It's mine.
Yeah.
And I think that the character Armando just runs out of the house, and that's something I would do.
Yeah, he got scared because what was it? Somebody said something. He's like, oh, he ran away as soon as he heard the word. What was it? I forget.
Oh, I don't know. Have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was an Armando and Orion at the end of there. In the epilogue.
Yeah, which
or ex-fuck buddies of Kaz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Armando? Harry said. He ran. Lana said. Soon as you said devilspeak.
There we go.
It's like, screw that, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Well, I have to commend you on your bravery because we said Teufelsprache a few times in this podcast, and you stuck around.
Yeah, I'm still staying away from calling Hell Priest Pinhead. I don't want him to listen to that. So
yeah.
So I mean the best parts of the book for me was the prologue where Pinhead meets those magicians. I mean that for me is like one of the great openings of the book is that whole sequence there.
For me, it's that, and then the battle with the Unconsumed.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow, that was so amazing. I mean, the opening was like, you really were right in there with the feeling scared for those poor magicians and their desperate attempt to resurrect some guy, from the dead, which took huge amounts of effort just to see if he knew anything that might help them.
Right, and I also have a feeling that Rogowski was almost like one of their leaders, or at least he was one of the best of the magicians that they bring back, because the Hell Priest saves him for last. And,
which is also why the Hell Priest killed him earlier, in the history of the first time.
Right.
Oh yeah, another Easter egg.
There were still thousands of them left when Rogowski got killed.
Right.
There was another Easter egg when Rogowski gets killed again. Remember, Pinhead removes a nail from it. He feeds him like one of those worms. That's from Hellraiser 3.
Right. He does that to that priest in Hellraiser 3. Yeah. That seems familiar.
Yeah. I always in Hellraiser 3 I used to think that was part of his brain.
Sure, like one of the coils.
The
from
coils.
Yeah, the coil.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 4 books. Book 1 is called Past Lives. Wasn't this like the name of one of the Dog Company's plays, or am I thinking of Night Lives? I think it's Night Lives.
Yeah. I think Night Lives.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that the prologue has this quote from the ancient rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Where,
me too.
Where it says the wind blow. It's like I can feel it. I can feel the wind, or something. This is after the curse is lifted from the mariner, and the wind blows him to shore. But here, he uses that quote in a completely reverse manner, because it sounds ominous, and it's like the Pinhead is coming. Oh, I said his name again. So, and the game changer in the beginning is that you realize that the Hell Priest has been gathering up all this magic and all these books and artifacts. Mm-hmm. He's turned away from his own order, and he wants that power to himself. He's got this ambition.
Yeah.
But he makes it to the place where they've risen Rogowski, and nobody even opens a box. He can now travel unfettered between dimensions, it seems.
Yeah, because of all the magic that he's collected. And so it seems like he's also sort of abandoned his old ways of doing things. I mean, he still will... He'll still hook people with chains, but he's got all these other things that he can do. Yeah. Like the paper cranes. Who would have imagined that?
I mean, making him a magician was a great decision by Clive, making him that powerful.
So there's 4 books, and I think that the book really takes off at book 2, because book 1, there's a little bit of like it's still backstory. It's still kind of getting the elements of the story together. It's trying to explain to us who Ariel Demore is, what the Hell Priest is up to, who's Norma, for anybody who hasn't read the previous stories. Did Norma appear in Everville? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, she did. She did.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there we go.
Okay, I'm still.
She's in the section of Devil. She's in the section of the book, The Devil and Demore.
Oh, okay.
Right. The book 1, it moves back and forth in time, and it shows us like how Harry and Norma met, which is a pretty funny story.
It is.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that is mentioned in the prologue is that the Hell Priest had helpers, right? He had assistants. He had people helping him. And some of those people, I think, would be, for example, that ghost that Norma Payne gets to talk to, that asks to speak to Harry and send Harry to New Orleans to that house where he sits.
Yeah. So that was a big trap.
Yeah, that was a big trap. And also that woman, that Dale and Solomon.
Yeah, she tries to kill Harry and using that nightmare potion.
Freddie, right? Freddie Belmer.
Yeah,
I think she
was
also
Freddie. You said because
so why did she try to kill Harry when the lead Cenobite wanted him to write his Gospels?
I don't know if it was really intending on killing him or just like capturing his soul or something. Because
maybe, yeah.
We do hear Harry ask her, "So what demon did you sell your soul for? And why does he want me dead or something?" Because obviously Harry D'Amour is someone, just like Constantine, that the demons don't like him very much.
Yeah.
So I think there's that parallel with the other supernatural investigator, Constantine. I wish that we could get a TV show just like Constantine did for Harry D'Amour. That would be great.
Yeah.
It's a great show, that Constantine.
People would think it's ripping off Constantine now.
And in book 2 opens up, it's called Into the Breach, and opens up with a Moby Dick quote, where I think it's a quote from Captain Ahab, where he's talking about being connected to the whale by the ineffable thing. So that it kind of hints at the bond that the Hell Priest and Harry D'Amour kind of develop here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the whole intention of the Hell Priest is to get D'Amour to be his witness, right?
Yeah. I think there's the interesting thing about those two characters too is that Harry D'Amour is a character that Clive Barker solely controls for the most part. I mean, maybe a little not so much in the new comics, but he's Clive Barker's character. He acts exactly the way Clive Barker always wanted him to. Pinhead, or the lead Cenobite, is a character that Clive Barker created and then got completely out of control. And I think that that's reflected in the story of this book.
Sure, it's like in real life, the Hell Priest kind of took over the horror world. I mean, I remember reading stuff about in Japan. By the time of Hellraiser 2, there were like 70 foot tall billboards of Pinhead and stuff like that. And it was Hellraiser 3. It's rock and roll Pinhead. That's when it really broke through and became like this global icon of horror.
Yeah.
And Penny, he showed up on. I wish I still had it. He showed up on Jay Leno one time promoting Bloodline. He was with Mel Gibson. He was with Mel Gibson. Like Mel Gibson had button on his coat had gotten messed up, and he asked Pinhead to help him fix it. I can't believe nobody has that taped, because I mean you would think that'd be on YouTube, but it's not.
Oh man,
yeah.
And I have it on tape somewhere, but it's just through a bunch.
I bet.
I didn't like it.
Well, he even showed up on one of the MTV Spring Break specials.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one.
Yeah.
I bet Doug Bradley probably would have the tape.
Probably.
Yeah, like book 2 is book 2 and prologue are really good. Then there's the fight at the end that kind of goes on a little too long, in my opinion.
Oh, between Lucifer and Hell Priest?
Yeah, I think it goes on a little too long, and it feels like everybody's just rushing in there, and everybody's like all these clans of demons are coming in, and
it's like an ocean of demons too.
Yeah, and it's like they come in with the Unconsumed, and it's like, okay, well, how is this going to end? And I think it's kind of an anticlimax in some ways, because.
But wait, are you talking about their fight?
Yeah, like the fight.
They're really. It's like, personally, it had an ending to it to where I thought Pinhead won, but then Lucifer actually comes back, really messes up Pinhead. He pulls out all of the nails in his head, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it was kind of to me, kind of maybe Clive didn't want to. This was this is where Pinhead kind of lost. You're not going to beat the main man in hell. Lucifer's always going to win.
Sure. And there's a funny side to Lucifer's fate in this book, which I don't know if I should spoil it or anything, but since
we're spoiling
the whole book, everything, okay. Right? So it's like Lucifer ends up in New York, and he falls in love, and he has a pizza. And that's it. That's the last we see of Lucifer. And I don't know. I mean, it leaves it very open-ended.
That seems very Neil Gaiman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How so? I don't know about his work.
Oh yeah, I mean, like in the what are those comics? Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lucifer. I think eventually Lucifer sort of gives up his job, and just goes out into the human world.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And there's all these creatures like Death is a goth girl, and Morpheus, the god of sleep. It's like this guy who has like this emo haircut, and they live among us sometimes. They manifest and they live in cities, and they have friends and stuff like that. So yeah, in that aspect, I could see that work as a little bit Gaiman-esque in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great to see Lucifer destroy hell. I mean, that's what he did, basically, right? I mean, that was just, I mean, there was nothing left of it, except, Pinhead was trying to still make his way through it.
So where do all the damned and the demons go when they die?
I guess he kind of destroyed them. I guess they were gone.
Yeah. Maybe.
They go into the circle of the Magica.
Yeah.
Or they don't go anywhere. They just pile up and make the air twitch.
They shoot out of the pyramids in the ephemeris.
Right. So the funniest moments in the book, I thought one of the funniest moments in the book was when the Hell Priest takes Norma and he goes to the Bastion of TF. He goes there and he knocks on the door, and I think there's like guards and inner circle demons there, and they know that he's coming, but Pinhead kind of tricks the guards into letting him in with hallucinations that monsters are invading the palace, right?
Yeah.
And so we hear this back and forth through the door, and there's like this moment where like the guards are saying, hey, open the door, let's let him in. And it's like, no, let's not let him in. Are you crazy? And then you hear like a knife going into someone and a thud, and then the door opens and it's like, all right, and he goes in and he gives the guards lament configurations.
Yeah.
And he says, here, have this. And they go like, oh, what is this? Oh, that's another weapon. Oh, how does it work? Just open it up and you'll see. And that's how he gets through the guards in the Bastion of Tiaf.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a funny moment there. There's like
where when they open the box, where does it lead them to?
I guess back to the monastery.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that is explained in this book, is that finally Clive explains where the bell toll comes from. The bell toll.
And the black birds.
And the black birds. So the bell toll comes from the monastery's bell. And every time someone opens the door, lament configuration, they will walk out on the top of the stairway of the monastery that's dominated by the bell. So that's what they hear, I guess. I don't know. I thought that made sense, but at the same time, I always wondered. I always thought that bell toll was like a more metaphysical thing. Here it's actually turned into a real location, which understandable. I mean, the Cenobites show up immediately after opening the box, so it makes sense that it would open a portal into their own monastery where they just have to go down a couple of steps and they're in someone's living room.
Yeah. Well, the mystery of it all is always really intriguing and interesting. And it's always, there's always going to be people disappointed when somebody explains it all to you.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there were people complaining about Harry too, like
he wasn't badass enough.
Yeah, and people were also complaining that he swore too much.
Swore too much. He cursed too much. Yeah, like curse words. I could see that, like, there's dickface, pinprick, pinfuck. I mean,
and a lot of let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's not typical of Clive Barker to introduce vernacular that much into other books. But over the years, you can tell in interviews and stuff that Clive Barker has become more comfortable with using that kind of expressions, I guess.
Yeah.
Look at the introduction to Nightbreed on the VHS tape or the Laserdisc, and then look at some of the things he says in the documentaries that were recorded for the Anchor Bay DVDs.
Yeah.
Where he starts off by saying, I hope this is the last time I talk about this son-bitch movie.
Yeah. There's something kind of neat about the way that he's aged. That he's become so comfortable
and so open about everything that it's like, you can like me or not, I don't care because I am who I am.
Sure.
Yeah.
How old is Harry supposed to be in this book?
That is a good question.
Would you say 60?
I would say probably 50.
Okay, 50.
I think that, isn't it mentioned here at some point that Norma was like 63 years old?
Oh, I thought she was like 90.
I did too.
Well, I guess she was 63 when they met the first time at Dr. Krockenberger's office. That was also a funny name, right?
Yeah.
I thought some elements were hilarious, like the hell bureaucrats inside the Palace of the Unconsumed.
Like, what, you talking about the abbot?
No, I'm talking about the hell bureaucrats with gray suits that have they're like damned souls, but they have these tumors on their backs and on their faces, and they're just taking care of paperwork in the Palace of the Unconsumed.
It kind of makes you think that Butterfield was one of those, not Lord of Illusion's Butterfield, but the one from the last Illusion.
Yeah.
Was kind of like one of those people.
Could have been, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, that makes perfect sense.
And also in Hell's Event, I think isn't there an attorney that's like that?
Yeah, the guy who sets up the result of the race and then gets chased by one of the devils into the palace of the House of Commons or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry's tattoos are very prominent in the whole story. You finally see them working and see what they do. The protective ink.
Yeah. The itching and stuff.
The repelling of magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that part.
Yeah.
Whenever something bad happens and Harry's tattoos kind of itch.
By the end of it, they've itched so much if I gathered correctly, I don't think they're of any use anymore.
Right. Because when you're
like they burned themselves out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess Kaz will have to tattoo them some new ones.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, confusing moment to me was how they defeated the demons in Fike's Trench when the green mist is upon them. I thought that was a little confusing because they fight one demon first that's affected by the mist. And it's a pretty tough struggle, and they kill him. But then it seems like when the rest of the horde comes after they howl, it's really easy to kill all those demons. And there's no tension in that scene at all because they just touch the demons and they just start unraveling. And I just thought that was a little confusing. Why the first one was so hard to kill, and then the other ones are just so easy to kill.
I can't remember. Did he? Well, that first one, nobody knew was like that first demon. They didn't know what they expect from it, and when all the other ones, like Dale just happened to just think of it. Didn't he? Like, don't they just start dying from cuts because of what that?
Yeah. Yeah. Dale touches one of the demons with a cane that has a silver head on it.
Yeah.
And then the bruise that he creates from the demon just starts expanding because the mist multiplies everything. So apparently it also multiplied wounds or, bruises or whatever. So that they just have to touch them once or slash them once and they immediately fall to the ground and their body starts getting all these cuts all over it. At least that's what I understood. It was kind of a little confusing to me, that part, how they got away so easily. But I figured, you can't cut the book short. They can't die there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were some pretty cool descriptions, of those demons and what I guess that mist did to them or whatever. It kind of reminded me of just like very Lovecraftian.
Yeah. Yeah, and would that have happened to them if they got cut?
Sure.
Yeah.
And, they didn't seem to create any extra eyes or mouths while they were walking through the mist.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But one of the things I thought was also really interesting was the Azil tribe, which were supposed to be the first generation sons and daughters of the fallen angels. Mm-hmm. And they constructed Paratha, the city. And then Lucifer took them out in the desert and disappeared. And they make an appearance here, but they're really weird. They're misshapen. They're kind of like, I think, the Hell Priest even says something like, these guys are like freaks. If I come back, I'll just bring a squad and eliminate them all. and they're like a tribe of Indian demons or something. They're really They have their own speech. They have their own worship. They have their own deities and stuff. So I thought that was really cool.
They live right off the ocean between
Lucifer's Tower and the rest of the
what was that? What I liked about it in that the water was that creature that lived there, the big, was it like a dragon kind of, what was it called?
Was it called Kotho?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it native to the Hell Wasteland? Because, for example, I was reading another book before the Scarlet Gospels called God's Demon by Wayne Barlow. And in that book, the damned are turned into bricks to construct things in hell. That's their they're used as building material and also as workforce to build things in hell. They turn the damned into bricks, and you might have just a little eye coming out of the brick, and he'll be a part of that building forever, and that's his torture.
Wow.
And there's all these like fallen barons and archangels and stuff, and so they have their hierarchy of demons, but they also have native inhabitants of the wasteland they fell into. So there were creatures living in hell before the fallen angels fell in there. So I was just wondering if Clive, was thinking something like that, because there's definitely fauna and flora in this hell.
Yeah.
And not all of it is angelic in origin. So I was wondering if, that could be something that he got inspired by or read at some point.
Yeah, hell is really interesting, and I would have liked to have just learned more about it, just because, I guess their time in there was kind of short, but I understand why. I did want to learn more about Clive Barker's hell that he had created for this book.
So, what were your favorite parts?
One of my favorite parts was when Pinhead cuts himself up. First off, I thought this was probably one of the goriest books he's ever written. I mean, there's some really graphic descriptions in there. I mean, in a good way. I mean, I enjoyed, reading these people getting slaughtered. But this part where what really got to me was when Pinhead, the Hell Priest, was slicing himself up to put Lucifer's armor on.
Yeah,
that was foul. That was foul.
That reminded me of Cinderella, the Grimm's fairy tale version. The stepsisters were cutting off parts of their feet to try to make the glass slipper fit on their feet.
Oh yeah.
So one of them cut off their toes, and the other one cut off her heel, I think.
Jeez. Yeah, the original versions of those fairy tales are pretty gruesome, right?
Yeah.
But it was like he was cutting off, fat from the side of his body.
Yeah.
And I liked really after that, he reveals himself in the armor. I had this great image.
Yeah.
Of him when he presents himself to that army. I wish that Clive would have drawn some. I asked Thomas if he had done some paintings of his own, but he hasn't. He didn't do any paintings of a Pinhead in that kind of armor.
It sounds like that armor would give him a lot of extra power to fight the rest of the Horde, or maybe even take Lucifer's place. Which I think was probably his idea.
Goal.
So basically, the whole story here, the Scarlet Gospel, circulates around the fact that Pinhead wanted to become as powerful as he could, and he wanted he was interested in Harry because he wanted Harry to be his witness to write his Scarlet Gospels. Right? Yeah. To write the story of his rise to power, I would say.
And like a lot of other Clive Barker books, evil can always be undone by its own appetite. So, I mean, I think here his ambition, was too much. He couldn't do it.
Right. Ultimately, he's not an angel. He's not an angel. He wants to ascend almost to godhood state, but I think he was doomed from the start because there was no way that he could be that powerful. I mean, Lucifer basically sacrifices hell to defeat Pinhead,
Yeah.
Basically, the only thing that happens to Pinhead is he gets smushed by the giant rock that's floating over hell.
Yeah.
We need to talk about Pinhead's death. What did y'all? How did y'all feel about that?
Very definitive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he had some time even to think about what he'd done, and
I like those parts. What you just said, Ryan, is I really enjoyed that. Those kind of when he was thinking introspective.
Yeah.
You know?
I think in some ways it reminds me of his death in Bloodline.
Yeah.
Because there's a moment where he before he dies, before the Minos space station explodes, he has time to make peace with the fact that he's dying.
Yeah.
He hears the merchant say, "Welcome to Oblivion," and he says, "Amen," and then it explodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a good way to go out. I thought maybe he'd do something over the top, and I'm glad he did something a little bit less, a little more quiet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a long drawn out. I mean, he was killed by degrees, for a long time, and it's like he's still alive, and then a rock fell on him.
Yeah.
I mean, but he was really put through it quite a bit before he finally died.
I got the impression though that he was okay with the result. I mean that he knew that he had he had made the stakes really high, and he took a gamble, and he was like, okay, well, if this works, it works. If it doesn't, then I'll just be obliterated, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why Harry's Scarlet Gospels were so important to him. Especially if he died, then there would at least be his story.
Yeah, one of the interesting moments about this Hell Priest story is when he is in the channel houses behind the monastery, and he's about to release the paper cranes to destroy the rest of his monastery colleagues, and he is mentioned to have like this brief feeling that he doesn't know what it is, and then he realizes, it's doubt. He has a brief moment of doubt, and then he asks himself, are you ready to face the apocalypse? And then he says, yes. And you can tell that he's really sure that he's willing to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that moment where he gets a little twinge of emotion there, and he's like, oh, what is that? That's interesting. And it's like, oh, it's doubt. So, yeah, it's like he's so focused on it that, he has to take the time to try to understand what emotion he's feeling because he's so focused on his task.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we never really got so much into his head before.
That's right, yeah. So for me, this book was a complete delight to experience. I'm really happy that I finally have the hardcover in my hands. If I had to give a rating to it, I would definitely recommend this book. To anybody who has read Clive Barker stuff or anybody who likes the Hellraiser movies, buy this book. I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised with it.
Yeah.
I would definitely put it in my top 5. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I want to read it again. Maybe not really soon because we've got we're going to be doing Everville here pretty soon, but I want to give it a little time and then come back to it.
I want to as well. I think it's interesting. In my first reading of this, I was reading it from Pinhead's point of view. In my next reading, I think I'm going to go through it from Harry's.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, I really, I felt, more attached to Pinhead. And,
Yeah. That may be
I was actually kind of pulling for him.
Oh.
In some ways.
Yeah.
I totally get that. I was doing the same thing. I wanted to see how far they could...
Yeah.
How far he could go. I mean... What was his ultimate goal? Was it to become the ruler of hell? Was it to even go up and face God?
It seemed like he wanted to destroy hell.
Yeah, I guess he was tired. I guess he had enough of it.
Same as Lucifer, I guess too. Lucifer was tired and wanted it to end.
He got mad in that one scene when he finds Lucifer dead.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to learn all this more great power from Lucifer.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that all these deities in Clive Barker's work, they're always very isolated from the rest of their creation. Look at what happens to Apexamendios in the Magica.
Yeah.
He seals himself up in his own first dominion, He creates this giant city that's completely empty, and he just lives there by himself, unbeheld.
Yeah.
And then look at the theater play of the history of the devil. When the devil goes up into heaven, heaven is empty. God is not there. Nobody knows where they are.
Yeah.
And there was always this absence. And the same thing in the Scarlet Gospels. Like, nobody knows, even though hell is running itself, they have their hierarchy and things are moving. But nobody knows where Lucifer is. The last time they saw him, he had finished building the city of hell, and then he went into the wasteland, and people still think in hell that he's either walking among them in disguise or that he just went somewhere else and disappeared.
Yeah.
So there's this notion of a god in absentia, almost in absence.
Yeah.
In a way, this is kind of what you're talking about, Jose. Is like Nyx from Lord of Illusions, kind of at the end of that. Does he decide to do the same thing?
Yeah, or Mammalian. It also sort of seems to me to kind of represent the disconnect between organized Christianity and the people.
Yeah.
Like Hepexamendios and not recognizing the feminine power. All the male hierarchy of things.
You never see him, like in Hellraiser. You never once see an angel except for the Scarlet Gospels. There's no angels in the Hellbound Heart. There's no angels in the Hellraiser movies. So where's the other side of that dichotomy? And here we do see angels, but we don't get much of a glimpse into heaven. Although I enjoyed story arc of Felixen, even though he's turned into the dog of the Hell Priest. But at one point he decides that if he ever gets out of his situation, he's going to give up magic, and he's going to try to give up magic and live life differently, because he comes to a point where he experiences hell, and therefore he realizes that there must be a heaven as well. And so he wants to work on his soul. He feels like he damned himself and spent his life searching for magic when he should have been working on his soul, which again goes also to the theme of Lost Souls, the story, where that Chat the demon talks to the owner of the supermarket, and he says, "Hey, you want to see something? This little scrawny animal creature is your soul. You starved it all your life, and now you're going to die tomorrow. You have time to do some good deeds and try to put some meat on your soul's bones." Even though that's a demon saying that, you can think of that as kind of a. I find that stuff really fascinating. That heaven is hinted at, and you even see angels at the end of the book, but you don't really get much of a glimpse into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see the only thing we saw about heaven were those two angels that were, I guess, supposed to be guarding hell or keeping an eye on it, and they weren't paying any attention, and they missed out on the whole battle and the ceiling cape falling in and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so tired of being there and guarding hell that they just wanted to die, or at least one of them did.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that. And Lucifer trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
Basically, I think that is also the despair that comes from being disconnected from heaven.
Yeah.
If you became like God's biggest failure, or if you got disconnected from God, banished from heaven for the rest of your life. Milton's Lucifer actually thinks, hey, well, now this is going to be my kingdom, and I'm going to turn evil is going to be my good. And he's like, I'm going to do my best to destroy and insult all of God's creation every single moment of my life. But this Lucifer is more like an angel that mourns his lost divinity, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it could be that he got tired of all that too.
Sure. Another parallel with God's Demon by Wayne Barlow is that after Lucifer falls, all the demons saw Lucifer fall into hell, but nobody has seen him since. So in that book, also, Lucifer is kind of like absent for most of the book, while all the demon clans fight among themselves. Yeah, I would suggest if you like the Scarlet Gospels, go read God's Demon by Wayne Barlow.
Yeah.
He's a great graphic artist. He also made a book of paintings called Inferno.
Oh, those were great.
Yeah.
You sent me some of those. Those were beautiful.
Yeah, so I think if you're interested in the Scarlet Gospels, you should also go and check that out.
Yeah, the hellscape in there was pretty reminiscent of Clive Barker's description.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, we're at 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
with only probably a little bit that we're cutting out, so this is going to be a long one.
And it's probably going to be 2.5 hours. So
well, usually the book ones are usually pretty long, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Y'all, I mean, this is the first book one I've done with y'all, but usually the past ones I've listened to, y'all get,
Yeah, especially when we would go chapter by chapter, which we didn't do this time, thankfully.
Right. Even though I had I had more pages of notes, but it's like basically they're just about the story.
Yeah.
Even though we spoiled things, I didn't want to spoil things too thoroughly.
Yeah, it's like we don't get a new Clive Barker book very often. I mean, I read the advanced reader copy. I'd like to read this hardcover again, in the near future, and really go through it some more. I think every book I've read more than once, except for this one. Maybe like First Tales and Maximilian Bacchus, I only read once.
Jose was like, you brought up Jojo. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. That was what I gave it in my review.
Oh, right, yeah. When I said a 7, I mean like a high 7, like 7.5 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting because is your rating scale like only against other Clive Barker books?
I would say probably 1. I don't want to say which book would be 1 and which book. Well, the 10 would be probably Imagica. Or the 10 would be the book that Clive Barker hasn't written yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one thing that he's never written yet. But Imagica is definitely a high 9. And I don't want to say which one would be 1, but I don't know. I wouldn't consider Clive Barker's books, any of them, to go down to a 1, to be honest.
Well, it's hard to say that.
It's an enjoyment scale. It's an enjoyment scale from 1 to 10. 1 being, being stuck in a plane with nothing but an airplane magazine to read. And 10 being in my favorite Blockbuster and comic book store when it was open. So, that's the enjoyment scale right there. I don't know.
Yeah. So, is there a book that you would consider to be a 10?
I would probably say, for me, I'd probably say Magica.
Well, yeah. I mean, any book besides just Clive Barker.
Oh, any book. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Frankenstein. Mary Shelley Frankenstein.
Oh, okay.
Good example right there. Yeah, I would say that book is a 10. Yeah. It was great doing this episode and talking about the Scarlet Gospels. I mean, we could just keep talking over this book for another hour at least, but we have to stop at some point. And
people will start playing this podcast and they'll see the running time and like, oh my god!
Thanks for being here with us and listening to this. And then, as usual, if you have any feedback that you want to send our way or an iTunes review that you want to write, please go ahead. It's always appreciated.
Thanks for all the questions too.
That was a big part of our discussion today. Was that was a good jumping off point. Yeah, for sure. All right, well,
did y'all want to talk about what you're working on for the side, or?
Yeah, well, I haven't. I mean, I haven't really worked on much of anything. I would like to.
I'm stoked about Fallout, so I still haven't started playing Undying. Even though I have the game and I have the guide for the game, there is a guidebook for the game. Yeah, I'm just in a Fallout mood right now, so after this I might enjoy a little bit of Fallout.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
All right, man.
All right.
You both take care, all right?
All right.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial fan site and podcast that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Films. This podcast and site are a labor of love by the fans for the fans. News, features, and show notes for this episode can be found at www.clivebarkercast.com. Go to iTunes and please leave us a review. Reviews really help us get the word out about Clive Barker. The can also find us on Podomatic, Xbox Music Store, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Double Twist, BlackBerry, and Pocket Cast. We have a Facebook page, so come on and like our Facebook page and join the Occupy Midian group for lots of discussion about Nightbreed and other Clive Barker stuff. On Twitter, we're at BarkerCast and at Occupy Midian. Opening theme by Mark Buckle.
Hey, and I made it all the way through the episode without actually using Pinhead too much, because I know he doesn't like to be called that. Wait a minute, what's that? Oh my god!